Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Ranch.
You're not Marlo.
I'm not Marlo.
I'm not Marlo.
Yeah, where's Marlo again?
He's in Florida.
Hiding?
Nursing a broken leg, I think.
Oh.
Apparently, he got injured in the line of duty.
The vomit comet? I think he was heading to NASA or something, wasn't he?
I don't know. We'll get the full story next week when he gets back.
Well, I'm Marv Dorner, and I'm going to be taking the microphone, I guess, for today, joined as usual by my Mr. Jim Walsh.
Hello.
He's over there with his playing guitar T-shirt on, which is perfect for today.
Oh, so yeah, we got a music-related
We
show.
do, but before we get to that, I want really quickly to touch on something. I think a lot of people know last week Netflix and Twitter and Amazon and a bunch of other rest of the internet was down, especially on the East Coast.
Yeah, what was that all about? It's like somebody set off an EMP or something, and they all just kind of went for several hours.
It's real close to that.
It was crazy, yeah.
There was a denial of service attack, and if you're not familiar with it, my wife actually asked me this exact question.
Yeah.
And it was it's a series of computers that are compromised and hacked and taken over by somebody, and then they all get executed at the same time, and it floods a particular site or anything like that.
This is nothing new, by the way. I remember back in the 80s when HBO, I think it was in Chicago, they were hijacked by a guy named Captain Midnight. Mm-hmm. And then there was that clown who was wearing the Max Headroom mask who showed up on one of the cable channels. He was naked except for a Max Headroom mask, which he was not wearing in the right place as far as being naked was concerned.
I would have remembered that.
He was showing off his naughty bits.
Yes, but
his naughty bits.
The denial of service attack happened. It was launched against the DNS servers, which kind of controls the traffic of the internet. And now, this morning or yesterday, it was announced. Yesterday here, or in China today here.
China.
So Chinese manufacturers recalling tons and tons of devices, of Internet of Things devices, specifically webcams seem to be the biggest culprit, that were compromised and used in the denial of service attack. So my warning to everybody here before we get the show going too far is, one, log into your devices and change your password.
Good idea.
They said the biggest concern was everybody had just the default password. Someone was able to compromise it and get in there and hack it. And now it might be too late, because if they're already there and they've already uploaded a new firmware to the device, they probably have control.
Well, I just updated mine a couple of days ago anyway. I'm hoping I'm okay.
On your webcam?
Oh, no, not my webcam.
Oh, okay.
What about Facebook and all that social
Facebook,
media?
That's a different concern. That's obviously you want to keep that. But, things like the webcams, obviously.
Yeah.
But if there's one device that I know that everybody or a large majority of people leave their default password, it's their wireless router.
Ah, gotcha.
So go in there, change that thing from admin, which is the password everybody's got on most of their wireless device.
Right.
And get that changed, and that's my little tip for today.
Gotcha.
Because that was the biggest concern, and there were millions of people without internet service on the East Coast. So
oh, boy.
That was a big deal.
Oh, they couldn't watch the latest episode of The Mindy Project, which had to be barbaric.
I think they got most of that cleared up by Friday night.
Oh, good.
So hopefully it wasn't too bad. But most of Friday, and we actually, I was on a couple of podcasts and some other things, and it was really tough to communicate with people out east.
Really?
They were getting nailed. So change your passwords, kids.
Yeah, every once in a while you should anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your Facebook passwords and Twitter and your email and your bank account and you name it.
Strain your brain, come up with something halfway original, halfway. Don't just name it your wife's maiden name or the name of your dog. Everybody does
Birthdays.
that. Yeah.
There's tools to do that. I use LastPass, and there's a few others that are out there, and they take care of all this for you. OnePass, I think, OnePassword. So just use one of those, do what you got to do, but get it more secure.
Yeah.
Now that's off the.
We have you're talking about a guest we have.
We do have a guest. Mr. Jason Ramsey is with us today. He's the general manager and co-owner of the School of Rock in Wichita.
Talking rock and roll.
Jason, you there?
I'm here.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Let me pull him up here. Are you there, sir?
I'm here.
There he
Jason.
is. There he is.
We're new. We don't know how to work a board here, so we may need you here.
Once I couldn't spell announcer, now I are one.
Yeah, it's one of those days. So tell us a little bit about the School of Rock before we get into all this tech talk.
Well, I'm sure most of the listeners out there have seen or heard of the Jack Black movie School of Rock, and it was actually based on a guy who was teaching music lessons in Philadelphia back in the late 90s. And he did such a good job that he ended up turning it into a franchise, and now it has over 180 locations worldwide.
Wow.
And we like to say it's music lessons done differently because we teach the kids how to perform. We have 3 seasons each year, and so the kids take private lessons like they do any other place where they learn music, but they also come a second time each week, and they're involved in a group rehearsal setting where they learn how to interact and play with each other. And then at the end of each season, they get to go and perform what they've learned in a real live rock show at a local venue.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of the videos through you, and it's amazing. You can see the kids, that are that really young age, and the guys kind of one-hitting the drums, and there's, just basic strumming on the guitars and that sort of thing. And then you can kind of see as it progresses, you get those kids that are in junior high and high school, and they're really tearing it up out there. They do an awesome job.
It's amazing how good they can get and how much faster they get good when they play in a group setting. It really is.
So you do say that at the end of each session, so do they run like 3 months and then they have their show, or what's the
3 to 4 months? For instance, we just wrapped up our summer season, and we had those shows back in early September. And then we took a couple of weeks off, and we started our fall season, which goes into winter, and we'll have those shows in January. And then we'll do the same thing again and have shows again in May. So it kind of runs with the school year calendar.
Great. So that's it's nice that it has something like that to follow. So are these kids primarily just playing a typical instrument, or what's the are they running just about everything?
We teach drums, guitar, bass, vocals, and keyboards. So we don't teach any classical or traditional, wind instruments or string instruments. Right. We try to keep it simple, and we try to be really good at what we do. And all the teachers I have in our local school here in Wichita are all professional musicians. None of them have, a day job telemarketing or doing any other thing like that. Most of them teach all day and gig at night. Some of them produce. Right. They're involved in music in some way.
Awesome. Well, Jason, we'll pick this discussion up here in a few minutes. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with more School of Rock talk.
Right now, 37. Live news headlines and weather together. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Good morning, everybody. This is Marv Dorner again, filling in for Marlo on the Tech Ranch. You know what, Jim? I'm going to love this this bumper music.
Oh yeah, Detroit Rock City.
we can just let this run forever. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. See. Well, we're interviewing today Jason Ramsey from the School of Rock, so he'd probably fit right in with this.
He's probably a member of the KISS Army.
Probably. Jason, are you?
Absolutely. They were just here not long ago, back in the summer.
See? You nailed it. So we were talking a little bit about some instruments prior to the break, and you mentioned, you really kind of focus on guitars and bass and keyboards and drums. And,
rock and roll instruments.
Yep, just good old-fashioned, make them loud instruments.
Keep it simple.
Yep, keep it simple and keep it loud, right? There's something to be said for that.
The KISS theory.
Has there been any advancements on the tech side on learning music as iPads, have computers, have any of that stuff really kind of moved the ball a little bit? It's been so long since I've learned to play guitar. Back in high school, and we were just talking about that prior to the show, and that's been a little while. What are some of the advancements you've seen there?
Well, the one thing that I can say is having new students show up, and it really doesn't matter if they're 8 years old or 10 years old or 12 or 15. A lot more kids are showing up these days with a basic understanding of the instrument because of technology. When you look at being able to go on YouTube, you can find a tutorial for almost any song you can think of, and sometimes many tutorials. So when you couple that with a lot of the apps that are available now on these devices, you can really go a long ways without having to have a teacher.
You know, the one thing I guess I saw just a few weeks ago, I was doing some dinking around on the internet, and you can find isolated like guitar parts, you know, if you want just the rhythm guitar for a certain song, or the lead guitar for a certain song, or the drums for a particular album or band or whatever. And that's got to make things so much easier for a kid to learn just sitting down and plunking away on a guitar. It's all right there in front of you, even without having an instructor there to kind of guide you a little bit.
Well, it's amazing. And, you look at guys that are our age. When I was 15 at home noodling around on a guitar, I would have never imagined what would be available, today. It's just amazing the resources that are out there to help young people that are interested in music, and maybe they can't afford lessons. There's a lot of stuff out there that they can use. Yeah,
the internet's just got to move the bar on anything, but I think music, it's putting it in front of so many other people than there has been in the past. I think, like you said, financing was probably a big deal for people. I remember in schools, and when my daughter was in school, they'd bring in these really old used instruments, and everybody could try them out, and whatever they wanted to do, they could kind of grab one off the heap, and then you would buy it kind of cheap. So
or rent it. I mean, that's the big thing today is kids renting instruments.
Well, when I first got a guitar back in 1969, it was a rental. A couple of bucks a week back then, which was probably real money for my parents.
That was like $100 a week probably now.
No, it was $10 a week. That's what it was. It was $10 a week rental. And then my parents finally
bought. Did you have an option to buy?
Yes, I did. But actually, my first guitar that I actually owned was a different guitar from the one I was renting because I wanted an electric. So they got me a cheap electric for, I don't know how much they paid for it, but it was a nice little guitar for its time.
So what instruments what got you into this, Jason? How did you get involved?
Well, I should clarify, or maybe just let you know right off the bat that I am not a musician. I know you know that, Marv, but I'm sure your audience doesn't. I love to play guitar, and I can play guitar. I'm just not great at it. But I'm a father. I've got 2 teenagers, and they both were taking piano at an early age, and both took piano for about 2.5 years. We went through about 6 different teachers, and finally got to the point to where they love music, they love listening to the radio, and they love playing piano, but they did not love what they were learning. And so we would go through teachers trying to find someone who would have a different style or method of maybe teaching some more popular music that's been played on the radio.
Sure.
And we just couldn't find the teachers. They weren't out there. So I was in between jobs. I was looking for another franchise to be a part of because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a franchise guy. And one of my friends came across this franchise. And I think at the time there were about 90 units out there. And I took a look at it, and I went and did my due diligence with my partner, and we toured, I think, about 15 schools.
Wow.
And I thought, there's got to be a lot more parents out there like me who think music is important and who maybe have children who aren't interested in learning the traditional way. And turns out there are. There's a lot of them.
Teaching's a big deal. I remember my daughter, when she wanted to learn how to play guitar, I was lucky enough being a DJ and working in some nightclubs and knowing a fair amount of musicians around town. I was able to find somebody who I knew would kind of match her style a little bit. So I got her turned on to a guitar teacher that, does an awesome job and taught her a lot in a very short amount of time. And she still has it. She doesn't play it very often, but she still has a couple of guitars, and it's still there. And, I encourage her. We actually got her signed up for a program online, which was similar, I think, to what you're talking about. It's a very sound it's not really reading music. It's more feeling the music and playing the music and that sort of thing. And she responded to that way better than how I was taught, which was get the book out, sit in front of it, and just practice chords. And, that's just not how kids learn anymore. And I think that's finding a different method is a huge step forward. So,
well, and not only a different method, but I've noticed there's also a social aspect to it.
Sure.
So a lot of the kids that we have really aren't into sports. Sports is not their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most of them are in marching band, or they're in choir, or they're
Right.
in jazz band, and they love that. But there's an element missing, which is getting to play what they want to play and what's popular. And so that's where I think we feel a need that's out there. And a lot of the kids we have would have never met because they don't go to the same school if it weren't for School of Rock, because it gives them a place to come and meet other kids who have, similar interests. And to see what it does for them socially is just as rewarding as what it does for them musically.
So you guys, you focus on these 4 instruments. Do you still have a sort of a side learning experience for people who want to learn the other side of it, the working the sound gear or doing any of the recording or anything like that? Is that a part of the curriculum or part of the group?
It is part of the curriculum. We don't do that here in Wichita just simply because our school isn't old enough yet and the market isn't quite big enough. But there are a lot of schools out there that do audio engineering, that do producing, and show kids how to record. And we do have, as a company, nationwide, we do have curriculum around that. It's just not something we do here at this location.
Boy, that would be fascinating, I think, for a lot of kids if they're not musically inclined, but they enjoy music and something. I guess I play a little bit of guitar, but I've spent so many years behind turntables that it would be something different, and I think really a good time to learn all these other skills. And I had to learn the correct way to plug in all the equipment, to work a soundboard, to do all the stuff Jim does on a daily basis. And obviously we struggled with it this morning.
The little stuff, isn't it, that you need to know?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like computers. Plug A only fits in plug B usually. So there's not a lot of, but plug them in the wrong way or getting them routed correctly is probably the biggest struggle. And it's something that you either got to learn on your own and just blow up an amp now and then, or get shown the right way to do it. And to see that as part of the curriculum, I think, is a really an experience that somebody could get something from.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine being, if you were 15 and you were into that and having the opportunity to go to a place and meet with someone who does that or has done it for a living and get to sit down behind a soundboard and go through, okay, this is how this works. I mean, because that's essentially what happens.
Yeah, most of us learned by sitting with a sound guy, and we're at a bar and watching the guy work the soundboard and play with things. But we're going to continue our discussion with Jason and about the School of Rock here in just a few minutes. And we're going to be going when we come back from a commercial break on the Tech Ranch.
Right now, 37.
News headlines and weather together. Live on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Incorrect. This is Marv Dorner today, filling in for Marlo.
Hey, the kids are all right.
And Jim Walsh. And joined by Jason Ramsey of the School of Rock. So, Jim, we were talking a little bit before during
we talked about this last
yes,
week, and I don't remember if it was on or off the air, but we got talking about the Rock Band video games, which were all the rage a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Not so much now, but I think they're still out there.
They're there.
I remember there was a big to-do, and they finally got approval for the Beatle catalog to be included.
Yep.
But two of the artists who never went along with it, one was Prince, and the other was Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin fame, and they both said exactly the same thing. They said, we would rather the kids learn music the way we did, with real instruments, listening to real music, and playing the real licks. And I always thought that was interesting. We should get a perspective on that from our guest.
Well, Mr. Ramsey, Care to embellish on that a little bit?
I've been asked this question a lot, and you know, Prince. It's interesting you bring up Prince and Jimmy Page because those are probably two of the most eccentric, talented guitar players ever.
Let's not talk about land sharks now. No land shark stories.
I don't know that I totally agree with kids learning music the way they did, because like we discussed earlier, there's so many tools now and so many resources they can use to make it a little easier or more helpful. But I do agree that games like the Guitar Hero, it doesn't really teach them music. Yeah, they get exposed to the music and they get to listen to it, which is really important. But as far as techniques or anything to help them musically, it really doesn't do anything. The only video game I've ever seen out there that does that is Rocksmith, because you actually do play the guitar with it. It's not a game per se.
Interesting. One more game for you to buy, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, the Guitar Hero guitar, I've seen it. It's like those little kiddie toy guitars we used to get at the toy store when we were little kids, where you just had a couple of buttons and maybe you turn a crank or something on the side and it makes music like a Jack-in-the-Box.
Yeah, but it was music, right?
I mean, it doesn't really relate to the guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Agreed. So, Howard, what's your opinion on the music services that are out there, Jason? Because you got Spotify and Pandora, and oh God, the list goes on
guitar
and on
lessons
and on and on,
all over YouTube.
Yeah, but just exposing kids to the wide range of music. I remember, my parents, the two albums I can remember my parents owning, and this is gonna be scary, but Tony Orlando and Don,
yeah,
and CCR, which get about as polarized as you can get.
Yeah.
But that's all I remember.
We had a lot of Creedence in my household too, although my parents were a little older than yours.
Yeah, but
they were products of the big band era, but they had like Ray Charles and people like that.
But other than that, it was AM radio. It was Casey Kasem in Top 40. But now kids can listen to just about anything at any time, anywhere. And so, have you seen that kind of help a little bit, Jason?
Oh, absolutely. And, I had this discussion with my 85-year-old father-in-law last night. We got in the car and we were going somewhere. And I know he loves Frank Sinatra, so I turned on satellite radio and found Seriously Sinatra. And he goes, there's just, people aren't making music like this anymore. And I said, well, yeah, they are. I said, it's just not popular.
Yeah,
he goes, when I was a boy, this is what everybody listened to. And I said, when you were a boy, there wasn't 60 or 70 years of cataloged music of all these different genres.
Right.
I said, you've got to look at how much music has been made in the last 50 years. And I said, the kids have access to all of it now. I said, you were very limited. So I think with Spotify and Pandora, especially those two, it exposes kids to stuff that we never got exposed to until we were much older.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, and I think the exposure is what's, and then the MTV kind of generation kind of brought everything. All of a sudden you could see these guys, where, the 60s you didn't see them on TV very much. 70s you maybe, if you stayed up till midnight. Was it the Midnight Special, I think, that was running?
Midnight Special.
That sort of thing, and Solid Gold and some of these other just 70s and early 80s
And that's going
shows.
back before even the music video shows.
Right. And so now all of a sudden you got all these music videos in front of people. And, that was kind of the first big jump forward that really, all of a sudden you saw these guys in front of you all the time.
Oh, my cousins, the millennial cousins, they're actually the children of my original cousins. They are far hipper as far as music today and yesterday than our generation ever was. Our generation, we had what was on AM radio, and that was it. Mm-hmm. If you heard a big band record, you were like, what the hell is that? I never heard that. That's weird. I never heard that before. But the kids today, they're far hipper, far more, what's the word I'm looking for? Cosmopolitan, eclectic, all them fancy words, which means their musical horizons are far broader than ours were at the time.
So do you see
there's a lot more cultured. I mean, the exposure, getting to listen to Bob Dylan or Led Zeppelin or, you can't, and I'm sure we can all think back to those bands and the first time we listened to them. I know two that stick out for me are The Who and Leonard Skinner, which were very important to me in my formative years.
Right.
But we all have those moments, and it's so easy for the kids to access that now through technology. It's just amazing.
Technology makes everything better, right?
Absolutely.
Well, not everything. We just talked about that earlier with the Internet of Things crashing everything on the East Coast. But, that one of the big jumps forward we saw, in the last 5 years or so is social media. And, pretty much my experience with the School of Rock is through the Facebook videos that you're sharing, on an almost daily basis, Jason. And how are you guys using social media and some of those other tools to both recruit and keep the kids that you have in the program?
Well, it's really two-pronged, right? Because we have the kid who is the one taking the lessons or the one interested in learning an instrument, and then we also have the parent who is maybe looking for a program to get their child involved in. So I spend a lot of time, as you know, Marv, on Facebook and on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But that tends to be where mom and dad are at today, not the kids. So what really infuriates me is all the kids today, right now, currently are on Snapchat and Instagram.
Right.
And, Instagram I've got a pretty good handle on, but Snapchat, boy, it's hard for an old guy like me to keep up with, but that's where all the kids are at, so you've got to do it.
Yeah, I think my experience on Snapchat is my wife will send me about one picture every 6 months or something, and then I go, how do I log into this thing again? I don't remember my login information. So you kind of struggle a little bit. But
it's changed a little bit recently, but, before it was like, I've been on Twitter since almost the beginning,
me
and
too.
I've been on Facebook forever, and I don't mind it to put the work in because you can look back chronologically and see how things have changed and what you did. And with Snapchat, I just never understood why I would put so much time into something that disappeared. But like I said, that's changed a little bit now where you can download your memories and things like that. But it's definitely a different animal. And I think as more people start using Snapchat, especially more adults, the kids will migrate to another app that mom and dad are not on or don't want to learn how to use. So I think that's just life.
As soon as somebody figures how to make money in one of these locations, that's usually when the kids jump the ship and move on to something else. And that's kind of the way it works. Are there any dedicated, specialty apps that the kids are using for, this particular type of learning? MySpace seemed to be the only reason MySpace was still around even 2 or 3 years ago was musicians that were on it. But are there dedicated social media sites or apps or anything like that the kids are using to learn and stay in touch?
The short answer is yes. There's tons of them. And the way we teach, we do teach a lot by ear, especially in the beginning. And if we have a kid who doesn't want to learn how to read music, then we say, okay, we can still teach you. But eventually, if the kid stays with us long enough, they're going to be asking for theory because there's only so long that they'll be playing by ear or getting better at their instrument before they want to understand what it is that they're doing. So we teach theory, too. We haven't got a lot of great teachers that know a lot about theory. We have a guitar instructor on staff who also teaches jazz guitar at Wichita State University. So we do it all. But if you had to pin me down to the one app that we use in our school that is the most helpful, I would point you to the Amazing Slowdowner. And the reason for it is, I don't know if you guys can relate or not to this, thinking back to when you played guitar, but when you're learning a song or you're learning how to play your instrument, when you learn the notes or you learn the order that the notes are supposed to go in for this specific song, you want to play it to where it sounds like it does when you hear it on the radio.
Right.
Sure.
And in order to do that, you have to play it at the right tempo and the right speed. Well, the first thing your teacher is going to tell you, you have to learn how to play it slow before you can learn how to play it fast. Right. So basically what the Amazing Slowdowner does is it takes whatever track you have on your device, and it can slow it down to as slow as you want to listen to it until you get those motions down.
It really frustrates me. I shouldn't say frustrate. It just makes me mad about the unfairness of life, is that when I was a kid, I would spend days, weeks learning some lick off a record, a Chuck Berry lick or a Beatles lick, and just taking forever to figure it out, especially when I was younger and didn't have as well-developed a musical ear. And nowadays, you want to learn these solos, you just go on YouTube. They're all over the place. Oh, just do it right here. You put your finger here and there, boom, you have it. I hate that.
And now you can slow it down.
You should learn the hard way like we did.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Exactly. So does it keep it in the same key, Jason? I mean, that's a really cool app.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really cool app. If you have kids who are learning music, whether they're taking lessons or not, I would say it's essential.
Boy, I might have a new toy. I'm gonna have to.
I want one of those.
Gonna have to break a guitar out again and start slowing this stuff down. That sounds like a wonderful way to learn. And I'm guessing it works for bass, drums, everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Boy, wow.
It just takes whatever song you're trying to learn, and you upload the song or open the app with the song in it and slow it down, and it's amazing.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap up our discussion with Jason in just a few minutes on Super Talk.
Hey, man, play some Skinner.
Right now it's 43.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Hello, everybody. This is Marv Dorner filling in for Marlo Anderson. We got some Slash bringing us in.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
Rock and roll.
I don't think he was British, though.
I think Slash is British.
Is he?
He was born in England.
Really? Well, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
So, Jason, do you guys do anything with kind of stage presence or look or anything like that? Since we're on the Guns N' Roses kick?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier in the show, all of our instructors are professional musicians, so it doesn't matter what the instrument is, they all teach stage presence. It probably is reflected or seen more in the shows from the vocal students, but, the lead singer's always up front, so they always get more attention.
So lead singer, when they get presented with a microphone and a set of leather pants when they start the class, is that how it works?
We have had kids show up in leather pants, and it is encouraged. But oddly enough, it's much easier for them to learn their instrument or their part than it is to get them to, show a little stage presence.
Yeah,
those kids are just super shy.
Well, you even see that on American Idol or any of the Voice or any of those things. You can see some people that up there and they're really good at commanding the stage and they move around and do all that stuff. And then there's some that just kind of they don't know much other than they have a really good voice, but they just stand there and do their thing. Not like you're jumping around, Jim. You're jumping around all over the place.
Well, I think of some of the videos, even of the big stars. You look at the early videos of all the way back to Elvis and Jagger, before those guys really honed their chops. You could tell that they were experimenting. Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error involved.
Jagger, they might have just calmed him down for TV.
Probably.
Yeah, I think he was already
Jim Morrison, another one.
Yeah. You get to see some of these guys progress over the years.
Yeah.
And, you even see some of the guys that are popular now and what they're capable of compared to 10 years ago was something to see when they just stand there and play. But it's nice to know that you guys kind of do that. I'm guessing it's more towards the end of that 3-month period, and you focus mostly on learning your guitar and instrument stuff, and then kind of teach them a stance and how to play on stage in front of people.
Obviously, as the season progresses and moves forward, there is more of that talk that goes on. But really, I mean, from the jump, when we assign the first round of songs, if each kid goes to their lesson that week and learns their part, theoretically they show up at rehearsal, and if everybody can play the part that they've learned, then we can play the song. So now I said theoretically, obviously it doesn't always work out that way, but that's why we have the rehearsals. So the quicker they learn those parts, the more we can move on to doing, stage presence, and sometimes we even do choreography. So it's a lot of fun.
Wow. So what's on the horizon technology-wise? Do you see anything that's sort of emerging? We're kind of at a standstill as far as iPads being developed, and mobile phones are kind of where they are for a while. Have you seen anything either in the PC, Mac technology or anything else that's maybe emerging?
Well, I would say that the thing that I've seen recently that has like blown me away the most, and it's not brand new, but there is this device called an iRig that you can plug into your guitar, and it connects to your laptop, your Mac, and I mean, you can play straight into it. So you can, it's just like basically carrying a studio around in your Mac. You can use GarageBand on your Mac, plug the iRig in, and all of a sudden you're a producer in your bedroom or your basement or wherever.
Boy, you didn't see that 15, 20 years ago, where everybody, had to go to a studio and be totally soundproof and so they didn't get any feedback coming back through the strings. And, it's incredible that you can see a guy, sitting out in a park or, I've seen videos of people sitting on a mobile, a transit, on a train or something, and they're just playing away. They got headphones on and they're doing their thing, and it's totally different than it was just that, not that long ago. And now, you even talk about these musicians when they're on the road. It seems like they're recording things while they're on the road, and before it used to be into a little crappy cassette player or something like that. And boy, this has really make things a lot easier to not only record but to share. So they can send it to their drummer or send it to somebody else.
On the other side of it, the marketing and the dissemination of the music, which every musician hates. But you look at Facebook Live, you look at Periscope, and some of these apps where you can stream live while your gig is happening. It really lets these kids, especially the younger kids that have these broad social followings, get the word out there and let people access their music that would normally never be able to hear it. So I think you're going to see that moving forward. The connected world we have with tech and music is only going to become more and more important for young bands and artists. So I think that's the big thing to watch for.
Wow. Is there any training or anything on the negative side of social or the negative side of marketing where somebody can get rejected, and do you guys kind of counsel people on that, or how do you handle that?
Well, there's lots of life skills obviously to be learned by musicians, just like any other trade. And rejection is part of it. You guys know any adult that's ever tried to do anything and failed understands that, and those are important lessons to learn too. And
it's a business.
Nice thing about hiring musicians, because you can't be a musician and be older without experiencing quite a bit of failure.
Sure.
It's going to happen. And the thing is with Facebook and that sort of thing, it can happen publicly. Yeah. It can happen in a very loud way and immediate, where it used to take time to fail back in the day. But boy, you can really, really catch some negative opinions real quick.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end here, Jason. I definitely want to give you a chance here to kind of give us some contact information and let people know how they can get involved with the School of Rock. How can they contact you?
Well, I think the easiest way is just go to schoolofrock.com, and you can find a list of every location. I don't know how broad your audience is, but we have locations all over this country, in Mexico. We just signed a deal in England. We have schools in Australia, Colombia.
Excellent.
So no matter where you're listening from, there may be a School of Rock near you that you can go and check out, and the website is the easiest way to access that.
Wow. I think we need to go on a tour, Jim.
Works for me.
We'll just get in a plane and fly around.
Marlo goes out of town every other week. Why should he have all the fun?
And he was trying to go to space, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
Stupid broken legs and
Wound
stuff.
up sitting in a beach chair in Lantana drinking margaritas.
Yeah.
Tough gig, Marlo.
Tough deal.
Yeah.
I feel so really sorry for him. Well, definitely appreciate the conversation, Jason. I think there was a lot of good tips.
Indeed.
And some great tips on how to learn music and how to get involved. And Jim's going to go home and play with his guitar probably.
Oh, yeah. I got my old Stratocaster at home. Going to plug it into my little, I have a little Fender Champ amp, a little tiny amplifier.
Perfect.
And it'll rock out, man.
See, I'm just going to go home and start playing with my
play a little jumping
DJ.
jack flash. Do.
Yeah. Well, let me know, and I'll kind of try to sync that up with my DJ console. And
we could jam together.
We'll maybe I'll try to cut out the guitar part, and you can take over.
Music -1. Remember that? Remember those records? You buy the records and it would have everything the band played except the one instrument you were supposed to fill. That was kind of cool, though. I mean, that was Guitar Hero before there was such a game,
and with real guitars.
Yeah,
just like we talked about earlier. Yeah. So, well, I think that's we're getting close to the end here. My name is Marv Dorner. Thanks for letting me fill in for a couple of weeks. What was that?
Oh, that was the ending. That was the announcer telling everybody that Marv is ready to leave the building. Marv has left the building.
Yeah, so I'm leaving the building. Have a good weekend, everybody, or week, everybody. It's not the weekend. We just got over the weekend.
We are weak.
Jeez. It's going to be a long day. Well, till next time, thanks for joining the Tech Ranch.